Welcome to the Final Frontiers radio show, where we spotlight inspiring missionary endeavors around the globe. Stay tuned to hear how you can personally get involved, helping the Lord's frontline soldiers effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. In this episode, we'll give a report from Argentina, South America, where the Powerpack is being used, as well as an update on the Bible College in Honduras. We'll be discussing our present video projects, including the Ernest in Honduras Visionary Trips Special, and how you can help us produce more content. And we'll be talking about the ministry of Oleg and Lori Inskaya in the country of Ukraine.
You're listening to the Final Frontiers radio show. This is our September 2019 episode. I'm Daniel Nelms. I'm here with
Jon Nelms.
And Michael Horn.
And Joshua Martin.
You know, I just heard from a missionary last week from Argentina named Brian Roy George. He's one of the people that we sent out one of our prototype new sort of budget power packs to. And he sent me a couple of messages, audio messages on Facebook, and I'm going to play those for you right now.
Okay, Brother Daniel Nelms, I wanted to send you a note and say thank you for the power pack. One of the families in the church took it. They had it for 3 weeks so far, and they showed it once a week in different places, and so far they had 74 people saved in the different places that they showed it. And the highest number in attendance, they had 40 people one night, 20 people another night, and I think 15 the next night, or something like that. They're going to show it again tonight. They're getting ready to show it again tonight in another neighborhood. And they may have another bunch of people saved again tonight. So this is exciting. Thank you for all your help with the Power Pack, and we'll continue using it. This family wants to use it for a while, and then we'll pass it on to somebody else so they can use it for a while. And I just ask them to use it once a week and show it, the film once a week and somewhere, and try to get as many people saved as they possibly can. And take care, and God bless you. Bye for now.
Wow, what a blessing to hear that coming out of Argentina. You know, something I picked up on just now, having played it for you guys, that I didn't pick up on the first time, was that he said that they had, the first night they showed it to 40 people. I think he said the second night was 20, and the third night was 15. So that's a total of 75. And what he's saying here is that they had 74 saved. That's incredible. Yeah. Out of 75 people in these three different showings, 74 of them were saved. That's phenomenal.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
Praise
awesome.
the Lord. That's wonderful.
That's a wonderful praise to have here today, hearing about that. I can remember when he was on the podcast months and months and months ago. We interviewed him. And
last year, I think. Maybe even the first season.
Was.
I don't remember.
I remember Brian George, and I can remember Brian George at my church when I was growing up. But I remember him talking about just tribal peoples out there in the mountains that nobody was really going after. And that was one of his heart's desires, was to get a power pack so he could go out and take some of the preacher boys out there and get some churches started. So this is exciting. This just beginning right around him, seeing these villages reached. It's incredible.
It is incredible. You know, he actually tried to raise money for a power pack at first. Back then, I believe they were around $3,000. But he wasn't able to get all the funds that he needed. And when we built this sort of budget pack that we're using now, it costs around $1,500. I sent him a message on Facebook and I said, hey, listen, I heard you're in the States. If I can give you one of these for free, would you be interested? He said, well, absolutely. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, if you pay the shipping from me to you, so we sent that via UPS and we shipped it on to him. And that was about a year ago, I think. So this is the first report that we've had. So I'm really excited about it. But it's telling to know that at least, hey, you know, this prototype that we shipped out there, it's a budget unit. It works great. It was paid for by a church here in the United States. They actually sent us $3,000 because that's what our packs had cost in the past. And I wrote them to tell them, hey, we're trying to come up with this new unit. It costs half as much. So instead of just building one pack, this time I can build two. So we'll send one to the place we're planning on, and we'll send this other one to this missionary in Argentina to see what happens. So praise the Lord. That's really great.
I just had Matt Stallman get a hold of me this week. He's the one that is in charge of the boot camp that we talked about around here, and he's going to be running a boot camp in Guyana, and he wants to get a power pack. He wants to use it out in the villages out there and using it for training purposes. They're doing a very special missions training boot camp in Guyana, South America. And so if anybody wanted to help with something like that, helping raise the money to be able to get them a power pack to use and share the gospel in villages, who knows what could happen out there.
You know, what I got out of his recording was that usually we hear back from the preachers, Bible Institute students, or whatever they're out doing ministry. This is a family in his church doing it.
Yeah.
This is a mom and dad and their kids doing it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It makes you wonder what you, listener, could do, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
You were talking about that with the listeners that we have for podcast. If everybody helped, if everybody just gave just a little bit.
You know, honestly, our listener numbers, I say viewer numbers, listener numbers go up and down from month to month. But it looks like we've got about 90 of you guys who listen faithfully to every single episode that we push out. Well, listen, if all 90 of you guys would come together, go to our website at finalfrontiers.world and just pledge $10 a month, that would be $900 a month that we can put into our missions fund. That would be incredible. Just $10. Guys, listen. What does it cost to go to a burger joint nowadays? $6, $7, $8 for a combo? $10 a month. I don't think it's that much to ask. What do you think?
Just the other day, I got a report from our new school in Honduras, our new Bible Institute that's been started on our campus. And I was quite pleased with it. I thought we were going to have 6 or 7 people, and it looks like somewhere between 15 and 20 showed up. And evidently there were some others that had planned to come but weren't able to get away, so they'll come to the next class. So that's quite encouraging to me. We have them there on the facility. They come in on a Friday afternoon. You know, I got on our, rain camera? Friday night at home. I thought, let me see what they're doing there. And I clicked it. And, of course, it was already nighttime down there, too. And there was Pastor Carlos up there teaching all these guys sitting around the table in the patio there.
Yeah.
And he's teaching them away, so I watched it. Then I turned it off, came back later and watched it. And finally, I got tired of looking for a break, so I just interrupted him. With our camera, it's got the speaker on it. And as soon as I said, in Spanish, I said, hello, guys, how you doing? And he stopped, turned around, looked up at the camera, and everybody started laughing. And so we were talking to him for a minute back and forth. And I told him, I said, you know what? If God so wills it and so blesses, 100 years from now, there'll be students sitting out here going to classes studying how to do ministry work. But you guys are the very first class. So to me, that was very, very special. I wish I could have been there, but it was neat enough just to be able to observe from thousands of miles away through the satellite, to be able to see what's going on down there. So for those of you who've helped with it, prayed for it, appreciate it. Our budget right now is enough. What people are giving right now is sufficient to cover the current needs, but as it starts growing, we will need more. So if education is something that interests you, you might want to consider that for some monthly support or just an offering from time to time.
I can remember when I was in Honduras for the Tulipon project just about a year ago, hearing that video come on and you talked to, it was me and Jason Dover standing there, and it's like the voice of God suddenly came through the, like, whoa, what are you guys doing there?
Well,
like,
what was interesting is last Friday evening, I got a text from Mauricio up there with the Tulipons. And he wanted to know how we're doing. I said, fine, we got our Bible Institute going now. He said, now? I said, yes, it's in progress right now. He said, well, nobody called me to tell me I wanted to go to it. So I real quickly I sent a text to Carlos and to Edgardo with his phone number saying, call this guy. He wants to come.
Mauricio was in touch with me last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every once in a while. He's been watching our videos, too, YouTube videos and things like that. And so Mauricio's got a heart to be involved again. I mean, he wants to. So, yeah, the Bible Institute would be fantastic for him, boy.
Yeah, evidently he's got a few men up there. I told him that either we would cover his expenses to come, or if it's better for Carlos when he goes up there every other week to Rio Arriba, he could just have a class with him all day long, and or maybe a class with Mauricio, and then Mauricio can go back to the Tulipon and teach it to them. So we'll see, whatever they want to do is fine with me.
Speaking of Honduras, we're working on the
Ernest Livingston Honduras special.
Yeah. The thing that's absolutely melting my brain right now while I'm growing out my hair to play Ernest Castaway on a Beach, we've been working the past several weeks trying to get this Visionary Trip special done. There is so much footage for that, but it's getting closer. Another week here, and I think we're going to have it pretty well done with fixing the audio and everything. So you're going to get to see, I think, probably our best work we've ever had come out with that. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be adventurous and constant action happening. You're never going to know from day to day what happens to Ernest next. And you're going to get to see what happens on a visionary trip. You'll get to see all the places they go and all the things they experience.
And for you who've been there, it's really going to be neat because you'll recognize the places, and there's special actors in it like Victoria and her son Moises and others, and they're just hilarious to watch.
Franklin, he's an actor.
Yeah, Franklin, Pedro is on it. Mm-hmm. I don't even know who all's on it.
So many people. We have a very long list.
And it is hilarious. I think the problem...
Manuel, his monkey.
It might cause a problem for us, though, because I'm afraid when people see this, we're not going to have enough weeks in the summer for everybody that's going to want to come down on visionary trips. So I might just have to move down there so it can be a year-long thing.
Well, I think the real problem will be if people want to have the earnest experience when they're on the visionary.
You don't want the earnest experience. No.
I don't think so.
Rest assured, all the horrible things that happen to Ernest are exclusively Ernest related. They won't happen.
You could arrange it if you wanted.
Ernest
Probably
could
not.
come down and take you on his own special tour of Honduras if you wanted to experience things in the extreme.
I don't
boot camp
recommend it, but yeah, you might not survive.
I think you have to pay double for that experience. It's tough.
And along those lines, one of the groups that came down last year was from Beaver Creek, Oregon. Brother Mike Mutcher's church. He brought 22 or something like that down there, teenagers and adults, and they put together their own little video. I think we have it on our...
If you go to our radio show website, then I can put a link there.
Okay.
And sure.
And they did an excellent job putting together a video and just showing what they did day by day while they were there. I really got it. Honestly, when I sat there and watched, I started getting tears in my eyes because it brought back memories, and we just had a good time with those guys. I hope they get to come back again.
And our screening room, our entire series is now on Blu-ray, isn't it,
Right.
Michael?
Yes, if you go online to Amazon, you can go ahead and find it there. Or also, if you go to finalfrontiers.world, scroll down a bit, and you'll find the screening room section. And there's a link right there you can click to go ahead and buy it online. Get it online now, and you will get to see the episodes that have yet to air on YouTube. So you'll be super special. You'll get to see all the future episodes coming out, Christmas, the Thanksgiving special, which is definitely one to watch. Might be leading into something in the future. So definitely go ahead and get that. And there will also be 2 episodes that were unaired.
If they were to buy it like right now,
Right.
it would go all the way
Episodes
through
left to
January.
air.
Yeah, I think there's like 9 some. So that Blu-ray has 32 videos on it. I think I
Yeah.
figured out the other day. That's a lot of material, and imagine
Yes.
getting it now before Christmas and seeing 9 things that nobody
including
sees.
stuff that you will never see on the YouTube channel.
True.
They're exclusive to the DVD. And, what we're toying around with the idea is if you want to make a donation, other than just purchasing these off of our link, it'll just take you to Amazon. So if you're interested in helping this project to see us continue to make this type of content, for a donation of $30 or more, assuming you live in the United States, we will send you an autographed copy of the Blu-ray. So that's just something that we would do just for you guys who want to sort of join with us and help us produce this content on a regular basis. When you buy one of these off of Amazon, I think we make $1.11.
Yeah.
Something like that. So there's really not any profit. All that goes back into the ministry. But, if you really want to step up and help us, we'll get you an autographed copy out in the mail. That would help us a lot.
Another thing that came out of the media department this week was the invitation for the India trip coming up in November. So that's something that we encourage you to go to the YouTube channel and check that out and see that. You can see footage from all over India, and Jon Nelms is talking about the invitation to this trip.
Was that me?
It was.
I thought that was Brad Pitt. I was wondering how we got him on there.
So that's coming up.
Especially you pastors. It'll be such a blessing for you if you could go with him. It'll change your life.
And that gives you the option on there to either come yourself, or if you can't come, then to actually give funds for that, for the teams that'll be there and for the pastors that'll be coming, and to help us take care of them while that's taking place.
A lot of people help us out in the summer, who never go to Honduras, never have been there. Maybe they don't know where it is. But they give money so that we can buy food bags or build food bags to give away. And that's a good thing for us to be able to do in India, especially when you're dealing with the leper people. Yeah. To not only go in to visit them, but say, here's a bag of food for you. Because, these people have to beg for everything. If anybody's interested in helping with that, it'd be a blessing.
And we don't just hand out these bags at random. There's a gospel presentation. There's tracts in these bags. We're not just willy-nilly stopping on the street giving them to anybody we see. There's a whole method to this.
We do have a new project if you are interested. It's with Oleg and Laurie Insky over in Ukraine. They run our TAL feeding center over there. We asked them if they were in need of anything, if they had any projects going on. There are real go-getters over there, and they're really trying to do an outreach to the community, trying to get people to trust them, because you've got a lot of Orthodox Christians over there, and people just shut off to anybody who comes in. They're like, I don't know what you're trying to peddle here. You're trying to get me to do something. I don't want to hear it. So they've been trying to outreach to the community in other ways to just kind of bring them in, get them to know them, get that trust going first before they can then bring a true gospel presentation to them. So we'd asked them, and they said right now they're really looking for some more table tennis tables. They started this little
Ping pong.
Ping pong tournaments. They do tournaments.
Yes.
It's amazing.
They've actually been growing that little ministry outreach with the kids, and they've been using it for troubled youths that they have there. They've actually had some funding from the local government getting that interest for those funds, but they need more. So looking for 6 more table tennis tables, just as an example, and they each run around about $850 each. They also need some more AC heating units that need to be repaired or upgraded. So you add all this together, we've got quite a few little individual things that add up over there, and it'll be on our projects page over at finalfrontiers.world/projects, or click on the menu and then go to projects, and you can view it there. One other thing they're looking to hope to do is an auto shop repair. They said right now, within a 500-mile radius of where they are at, there is no body shop that can fix an automatic transmission. I believe we had that issue down in Honduras recently.
I think there was none down there that could do it either.
And so they're wanting to get that started up to basically first hire local people, train them, get them into a good job there, and then use it as a funding source for feeding the children to then get more children in, get their parents in. So they're trying to use it as a self-funding ministry,
Exactly.
but they need funds to get started.
So it provides a service, it provides vocational training, and money to spend on the ministry.
Do you recall how much they needed for that project?
That was between about $30,000 to $40,000. So that'll be up on the website if you're interested in giving towards that.
They're really doing a good job.
They really do.
I can say I was there in 2016, and they're bringing in people that not even Christians yet, because that's very difficult, like you were saying. But they bring these people in off the street. I can see them bringing in mechanics and all kinds of people to help with these things and slowly winning them to the Lord. That whole thing with the ping pong ball is extremely legitimate in Ukraine. That is a big deal, and they have a man there who is not a Christian yet, but he comes in and he just trains those kids. He was in the national competitions, and I remember taking video there. I'll put a video of that up on the website as well for the radio show. You can see the Ukraine video and see this guy, and he's in there training those kids. He won several awards, and he got them up to a certain state competition or something. He really trained them well.
And as they do these things, they're getting on regional and I think sometimes even national television, and it's talking all about them as missionaries, the Touch of Life ministry, what it does, how they're preaching about Jesus. And
The kids are wearing Touch of Life uniforms with the Touch of Life logo on.
There's soccer competitions.
It's
that
just
they do.
amazing to see
yeah,
what
he even
they do.
has traveling youth soccer teams that go around the nation. It's incredible what this guy's getting
Yeah,
done.
I mean, he took the ball and he rolled with it.
So if you're able to help out, just head on over to our website.
On the mission field, national church planners work in groups to be more effective, but often lack the everyday tools to make their efforts more productive. If you cannot afford to sponsor an individual preacher, you can still help with our team project, which stands for Together Effectively Advancing the Ministry. This pulls together small funds to help with things like printing literature, buying bicycles for preachers, providing emergency relief, and helping full-time church planners who are not yet supported. If you would like to join our team, visit finalfrontiers.world.
Welcome to the question and answer session with our founder, Jon Nelms. If you have any inquiries about missions or our ministries, please feel free to visit our website and click the radio symbol that says Heard Our Podcast. Here you can get in touch with us and write your questions in the comment box. We hope to hear from you soon.
So tell the listeners, when did you know you were called to missions?
At the age of 11, my church took a church camp in a place called Zachary, Louisiana, or Milldale, Louisiana. It was called the Milldale Bible Conference. And while there, God just burdened my heart about missions, and I felt like that from that point on, he wanted me to be a missionary. The next year, we went back there again, and it wasn't a youth camp, it was a family camp, but the next year I went back, and my dad was there, and during one of the preaching services, I was 12, but I became very overwhelmed with a burden in missions to the point that I started crying. People were at the altar and I was crying. Evidently, I was crying so hard. My dad got me up and walked me back to the dormitories, and he and I continued to pray together. And I could not stop bawling. And he finally said to me, "Son, if you don't stop crying, these people are going to think you're crazy." So I must have really been crying hard. But I was so burdened, and particularly at that time, I felt for the people of Russia. So from that point on, until I got to my freshman year in Bible college, I was headed for Russia. I've never been to Russia. All the times I've planned to go there, the trips always get canceled for whatever reason.
And this was in the 1960s.
Yeah, this would have been around 67.
Height of the Cold War, going to Russia,
yeah.
not an option typically.
Right, yeah. I think
one-way trip.
I think, to be honest with you, I don't think God had called me to Russia. I think that was the carrot he was dangling in front of me to keep me on track. And to me, Russia represented what I thought was the mass of people on the planet who've had no exposure to the gospel. And as I got older and more involved, and God led me into, the beginning of Final Frontiers, that's when I began to realize God didn't so much call me to Russia as he just used Russia as something to burn. I know that at one time, when I was 16, getting ready to go out to Bible college, I wrote to Brother Andrew that he had written a book called God's Smuggler. And somebody recently told me he's still alive, so he must really, really be old now. But I told him that I wanted to come to Russia. I would love to help him in his ministry of smuggling Bibles, and that's really where we got the idea from. And he wrote me back. I wasn't wise enough to keep the letter, but he wrote me back and told me, he said, "I think it's great what you want to do. We'd love to have you come over and help with us, but I think first you should go off to Bible college, spend 4 years there, and then get in touch with me." And during those years in Bible college, I got redirected from Russia to New York City and went and started a church there with some friends, and then on out to California. And from there, got involved in missions. So it all started at age 11. And from that point on, you go to school. I remember in the 7th grade, they had some program in one of my class about every kid telling what you want to be when you grow up, And I told them I want to be a missionary. And they all just started laughing at me. From that point on, everybody started calling me Jesus, just making fun of me because I wanted to be in the ministry. But didn't bother me at all. I couldn't wait. I've seen so many teenagers, college students, and others who are burdened down because they don't know what they're supposed to do in their life. I never had that problem. From the time I was even old enough to realize what life was, I already knew what God wanted me to do. So I have been incredibly blessed by that over the decades.
Your inquiries and comments are important to us. If you have questions or perhaps subject matter that you would like to have addressed on this show, please visit us at finalfrontiers.world.
Missionary lifespans have changed. In the first 100 years of missionary expansion from Great Britain, the average lifespan of a missionary was only 6 years. In fact, it was that long only because one missionary managed to survive 17 years, throwing off the curve, so to speak. Death for missionaries and their families was so certain that when missionaries boarded their ships to leave England, they packed their belongings not in shipping crates but in caskets, one for each member of the family. Family and friends would walk them to the docks, singing meaningful and favorite hymns, crying and waving as the ships faded into the distant curvature of the globe, never expecting and barely allowing their minds the hopeful thought of ever seeing them again. Many died on board ship after only several weeks of travel before ever reaching the western coast of sub-Saharan Africa. Africa at that time was called the Dark Continent and the white man's graveyard, referring to the certain death from a host of tropical diseases that were so common in the stagnant air of the jungles. Missionary societies eventually forbade their missionaries from venturing into the interior of Africa, forcing them to live only and always along the cooler coastal regions, where they could live longer and healthier. David Livingstone gained international acclaim because he left the mandated coast for the interior, and made contact with a host of unknown tribal groups that were yet to be reached for Christ. In doing so, he also saw the international mystery of the millennias regarding the source of the Nile River. He later died of malaria and dysentery. Like many other missionaries, I have personally had malaria, typhoid, Zika, chikungunya, dysentery, and a host of other diseases and ailments. But due to the advances in medical care, missionaries today can live longer and stronger, being enabled to preach for years beyond those anticipated by our noble predecessors. I'm Jon Nelms. To learn more about missions, order a copy of my book, The Great Omission, on our website at finalfrontiers.world.
You've been listening to the Final Frontiers radio show, funded by sponsors like you. Thank you so much for joining us. Through the funding of national and native preachers, we endeavor to effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. If you want more information, visit www.finalfrontiers.world. That's finalfrontiers.world.